Today's speaker is Gwen Briesemeister, and I just learned 10 minutes ago that Gwen is related to our very own Jane Fenton, sister-in-law. So Gwen's here to talk about filmmaking and Chaska Rotary Film. And Gwen is an independent filmmaker and video production instructor. She's worked for more than 26 years mentoring students in a variety of film projects, from documentary to narrative to weekly news shows. She created her own production company 13 years ago, has been working on short, independent documentary projects ever since. Her films focus on seemingly ordinary individuals with extraordinary stories. Gwen served on the board of the Minnesota Women in Film and Television and is a past president of the Minnesota Educators, the Gifted and Talented. Please welcome Gwen.
Welcome to my little talk here about connections and community. I know the introduction said I'm going to be talking about a program in Chaska, and I will be talking some about that. Is it okay if I walk away from the microphone? Can you pick up? So I just stay here? Okay. Oh, okay, I'll do that. Thank you. I tend to like to move around. I'll say, so I was talking about the New Beginnings program, but I really want to tie it into some of the things that you do as Rotary members, and I know that's having to do with connections and community. But before I get there, I want to talk a little bit about myself, who I am. There was an introduction, but I'm not typically a speaker. If I do speak, it's usually because I'm teaching something. I like to say that today I identify as a filmmaker, but I used to be identified as a teacher, and in particular, video production and gifted and talented services. For over 40 years, I did that. But I once heard a speaker talk about when you're talking about what you do, if you can't say, this is what I am, I'm an artist, or I'm a singer, or I'm a performer, or I'm a banker, if you can't say those words, then no one else is going to believe you either when you talk about it. So I am a documentary filmmaker. That's what I identify with today. So that's what I'm going to be talking to you about. Okay, so I want to talk about the New Beginnings program in Chaska, just because that's what this whole film that I'm going to be talking about, and how I got involved with working with that Chaska group, who is connected also to the Rotary. So the Beyond Beginnings program is an opportunity, and I'm going to use, I don't normally just read off the slide, but I want to do that today because I want to make sure I get the right words that they have put out there on their website. So the Beyond New Beginnings program supports and nurtures young moms and their children as they gain independence and safe, stable homes. So it's an opportunity for the young women in their community, and we're not talking about people that have lots and lots of issues. It's for young women that have children. The father is not involved with their lives. They're working very hard to try and make a better situation for their children. It's not like they've come out of drug programs. They're not out of jail recently. It's not that sort of environment. But it's girls that are and women that are just, looking for a hand up. They probably came from abusive situations, maybe in their own home growing up, or maybe in a relationship. They maybe have family that would like to support them but don't have the means to be able to help them to do those kinds of things, or to help them get apartments or anything like that. So we're talking about girls that are really trying to make the right step for their children, but they just don't have all the resources to be able to do that. So that's the focus of Beyond New Beginnings. The mothers, in order to be part of that program, must participate in either the New Beginnings program in the high school. So the Chaska has a great set of help, I guess, for young women, starting in high school. So if there's a young woman that's pregnant and they're 14, 18, in their school, they can go to the New Beginnings program and they can finish their high school degree, because that's really integral in making sure that they are successful years later. So help them to get their degree. They can bring their children to their school. The daycare is there. They can do their own daycare. If they're nursing moms, they can nurse their babies. And they learn not only the academic things that they need to do, but also some of the things to make them a better mom as they proceed in their lives. And then the ultimate goal of this Beyond New Beginnings program, which is the next program after, if they've been in the New Beginnings, is the Beyond New Beginnings program. The ultimate goal is to empower them to become healthy, engaged members of the community. So it's not so much just to look inward all the time, but it's also to become part of a community around you, that it's the world around you is important as the things that happen in your own home. So it's a kind of a big project for these young women to be involved in. And it's been a great experience for me to get to know the people that are involved in this program, as well as the young women that have chosen to be a part of that. Now, I think the reason why this program has been successful, and I think all of you that have been involved in any of your Rotary projects, and I see several of them coming up, is because of connections. Connections are just integral to making any of these things work. It's your connections to people you know. It's your connections to how you can get grants. It's your connections to people that can volunteer. It's all those connections that really have made any of these programs, the programs, like I said, that you've been working on for 5, 10, 20, 30 years, and as well as New Beginnings. Without the connections, there's no way that they would have been able to pull this project off. The other thing is connectors. You know people in this room that are those connectors. They know everyone. You go somewhere with them, they're going to know someone in that room. My sister-in-law, Jane, is one of those people. She knows a lot of people. And sometimes it's because of the job they have, but some people are just that way. I had a teacher I used to work with. It wouldn't matter where we were. We went to New Jersey once together, and she found someone she knew. I mean, she's just that person. So connectors are so important to getting some of these things going as well. And let me just tell you about how my connector got me involved with the Beyond New Beginnings program. So I was part of a Power Talk program. It's sort of like it's just a speaker group that wanted to get together. People are many of them are speakers. Some people just wanted to learn to be better speakers. So I was part of that group, and I met a lot of interesting people from all different areas. And I met a woman named Susan Colbers, and she owns a frame shop in Edina. And we were talking about, what do you do, and everyone gets to know each other. And I told her I'm a documentary filmmaker. I'm always looking for new ideas. And that kind of was in her brain. She is one of those connector people. So she remembers all of those things when she goes somewhere else. So she was, after that, at a BNI meeting and talking to people again, as you do. And she met someone by the name of Russell. And Russ wanted to talk to her about his new program and that they were working out and that they have just started. And that was the Beyond New Beginnings program. And she said, that sounds like such an interesting project. I have a friend looking for an idea for a documentary. Do you mind if I introduce the two of you together? And as it was, Russell is a Rotary member in Chaska, and that is exactly how he found out about the need for this particular program, was at his Rotary meeting. He had one of the women from the high school talking about the New Beginnings program. And at the end of her speech, she said, and when I come back to speak to you again, I want to talk to you about my girls that need homes. And it's just like, Russ was like, I have to go talk to this person after the meeting. And he did, and she was telling him that we have young women with children that are couch hopping, or their kids are sleeping on someone's floor. And it might be 3 days here, 1 day here, 1 week there. Some of them are sleeping in their cars. And he was just like appalled. In Chaska, that should not happen, and I'm not going to allow that to happen. And that was the spark that really put this all together. So I was in the Power Talk, my friend was in BNI, she met Russ, and she introduced us together, and so it became the circle that we were all connected together, and really from one person, that important connector that got us together. So, Russell St. John, some of you might know him. I believe he was maybe a president of the Rotary at one time in Chaska, but he's a very involved member. So he was the main person that really was so touched by this story and felt like, I just have to do something, we have to do something, and brought it back then to the Chaska Rotary Club. And that's where a lot of the things started percolating. But not only that, but it was also his connections to the community and getting the right people involved. whether it would be people in the city government or people that worked in the high school that knew the need of these young women. So it really is so important to make those connections and have those important people that can connect all of you together. So their program is interesting in that they have very, very few paid people. One of them is their business manager, who you see up here, Molly. Molly was retired, and because of someone knowing her, making a connection with her, she agreed to do all the financial things, which you need if you're going to be trying to get grants and things like that. You need to have someone that really knows, how to do the tax structures and things like that. So luckily, they were able to grab Molly, who that's her only job right now. She's not doing any other work except working for Beyond New Beginnings. We also were very lucky, again, with those connections. Jill is the program director. Jill worked for 20 or 30 years at the high school program in Chaska, retired, and guess what? Someone said, I have really something fun for you to do in retirement. How about this? And I'm telling you, program director for a program like that is like a full-time job, and she gets paid $0 for that job. She does it out of her heart. So that's important to have that person around. We have many other people that are involved in the program. In fact, Chaska's Beyond New Beginnings program did win the Humanitarian Award for Chaska this year, so it's an important program. And of course, the city of Chaska has just been remarkable in terms of supporting the program financially, as well as any experts that they have that they can send their way, and as putting out the word for volunteers and all those kinds of things are really important. What's interesting is they have a fourplex right now where all their programming is happening, but they're working with Chaska and some other grants and things like that, and they will be expanding that program to 4 more units, and they'll be, hopefully within 2 years, they'll have that next piece of the program going as well. There's a host of volunteers that are beyond the city of Chaska, coming from all over the place. So we have the police department in the area comes in and does, safety for children as well as for moms. How do you have safe relationships, all those kinds of things. They come in. We have nutritionists that will come in, work with the children sometimes. Sometimes they work with the moms, things that they can cook. Gardeners will come in, teach them how to garden. They started a little garden in their backyard so they can use those skills as well. A lot of people with self-help kinds of things, mental health, will come in and speak with the young women. People coming in just to, here's a fun craft that you could do, and they have everyone together. Moms can see what it's like to do those kinds of things with their children. Meal planning, and working with some of the children as well as moms on that as well. We have a lot of young people from the high school that come and babysit, because when you have someone coming in to speak to moms and there's not a dad around, you need a babysitter. So they'll come in while they're doing something on banking or finance or safety or something like that. These young girls will come in and babysit all the kids that are there. There's a bunch. We also have other volunteers that will come in and do a host of things. Monday night they have meals, and someone will come in and provide the meal for everyone so that everyone's doing sort of a big family gathering every single Monday, so they get the feeling of what that's like, and then they add their training or classes or fun activity after that. So those people are coming in all capacities. And this man, the kids oftentimes will call him Grandpa. A lot of them don't have grandpas, and he comes in and he just plays. They play games outside, inside, and they just love having him around, especially the boys, where there's a male figure there that they can have a lot of fun with. So here's a picture of all the women at the time when I finished the film. So what's interesting, when I was looking at this just this morning, I thought, every single one of those, now just recently, every single one of them have moved on. They've all got their own homes. They've all got their own jobs or careers or school or whatever it is that they've decided to do. Every single one of the moms that you see here has moved on and are doing well. So they've got some great success stories to talk about. So I would like to play one clip. Hopefully our speaker is still working here. And it's the end of my documentary. The documentary is about 18 minutes long. And I know we didn't have time to show the whole thing here, but I do want to have the last 2 minutes of the film, which really will tell you a little bit more about what's in their hearts about this program and how they think of this program. And there's 2 of the people that are involved in kind of managing the group, as well as 2 of the young women that have actually, I want to say they don't live there anymore, which is a great thing, have moved on. And in fact, one of the women, Morgan, that you'll see in this film, is now going to be on the board of directors for this program. So there's some really, really great positive things happening for them. Okay.
These programs transform those who serve too. You know, I've become more sensitive to needs of my neighbors. You know, and I believe in serving my neighbors. You learn that there are great people out there just need a little hand up. Good people that maybe didn't have the benefits as some families had. And it changes who you are as a human being to see where someone is living in a car, passed with their child, you might have ignored, sped by on your way to whatever. And all that now, it's helped me slow down a little bit more and listen and hear more what my fellow citizens are going through and sharing that the community does care about them. And so it is transformative to those who serve. When you hear the stories, it's like, wow, this is so cool.
I kind of expected we might run into a little bit more judgment and, you know, some negative things like that. And it's just been wonderful to see how people relate to it, how they respond to it, how we get involved and volunteer and donate. So we're really lucky. The story is a touching story. It's a good story. And people really respond to that. We're a good, positive place. We're not a sympathy place.
And something I've learned from New Beginnings that I would always hear it, and now I, hear it at Beyond New Beginnings, is always ask for help. And it's okay to ask for help.
I can say that I am finally happy with my life. I am on the right track. Going to school, becoming a special ed teacher. All my life I thought I had to do it on my own, be independent, figure it out. Because that's what I was taught, that's what I had. I didn't have anything, and they made sure to instill it in me that that's not the case. You don't have to do it on your own.
There we go. So I just thought that was just such a good capsule of the people that work for this group and the things that can happen when you all work together and not point fingers and not judge. They certainly aren't all successful all the time, but there's people there to help get them back on if they're not on track at some moment in their life. If you want to see the whole film, you want to go to my website, Chase Production Film. I also put some cards on the middle of the table. If you want to see the entire film with more testimonies from the young women and how it got started and what the requirements are and things like that for the program. As I said, they are going to be expanding the program here. In about 2 years, they should be able to do double what they're doing right now. Also, I have several of my other films, and as I said, I do films about ordinary people doing extraordinary things, from the lady in Monticello who brought back the trumpeter swan population in Minnesota and fed trumpeter swans for years from her backyard on the river, 1,200 trumpeter swans at times, unbelievable, to the blind man in my hometown that became the mayor, and he was an electrician and played piano down in the clubs of St. Paul and heard a lot of gangster stuff going on, but pretended like he didn't know anything because they all thought he couldn't hear as well as be blind. So he's got some great stories. I mean, just some unbelievable stories of people out there that are doing really, really great things. And I'm going to add one plug. I had a film I just recently finished called Unraveling the Ribbon, which is a story about the Native American ribbon skirt, which will air in Eagan on September 27th. If any of you interested in seeing a block of short documentaries, it's in Eagan on the 27th at 11:30. Tickets are $10. All right. I guess it's time for what, questions? Yes. How did I get into it? You know, here's the weirdest way I got into it at the very, very beginning. I had a video camera. This was probably 40 years ago. And one night we were just kind of fooling around with it, and we were doing one of the stop motion things. I'd never heard of that. We never, at that time, even knew about stop motion. And it was like, we did a little thing with a toy, and like stop, start, and it was like, well, that's kind of cool. It just moves when you do that. And that was the moment. But then as I went to another school, they really wanted to do a news program, and so I started working with students on news programs, and so learned a lot about it there, and then just kept going. I loved it, and I wanted to make sure that when I taught that class, that I taught it like a student that was getting professional advice would be, not just someone that's sort of playing with it. So I did a lot of classes with Film North in Minneapolis, St. Paul. And so took classes from people that are in the field. So took classes from videographers from Minneapolis and lighting experts from Minneapolis and directors from Minneapolis, so that I could learn the techniques and really be able to pass them on to students. And I've had several students that went into film afterwards. Yeah.
Yeah, I noted the appropriately thoughtful music accompanying the Chaska documentary, and I'm just wondering, do you have separate? How do you get the music for your productions and decide what goes with what?
That's a good question. You know, you can always buy music. There's all kinds of people producing music, and more all the time. There used to be like 3 places you could get music for, not free, sometimes free. There are a few free ones, but you can get it pretty cheap out there, and then you own the rights for your project for that. Right now, I think there's probably 40, 50, 80 companies that you can go to. So you subscribe, and then you can use their library and then just buy that particular song or that particular cut of that song. So yeah, it's just a matter of listening to a lot of music and trying to find the right thing that works. Yeah.
Where did you teach gifted and talented?
I was in Delano. Well, I shouldn't say that. I was in Delano, but I taught other places too. I first started when I taught on Fort Berthold Indian Reservation. So that was the first group that I had. And I got my degree from Minot State for gifted ed out there. And then I moved to Minnesota, and I worked with gifted kids basically in every school, Howard Lake, Rockford, Delano, along the way. But the last 20 years in Delano. I'm aging myself. Add it all up.
How much does a short documentary cost?
It depends. When I do this, because maybe because I'm a control freak, I don't know, but I don't ever seek out grants and things like that where I have to meet their requirements, because I want to do it the way I want to do it, which is the other reason why I stick with shorts. But I mean, a short, if you really are going to, like if it's the Academy Award level, it might be thousands if you're going to do it their way. For me, 1,000, 500, something like that. And that's mostly transportation and buying music and things like that, and producing poster. I've hired people to do voiceover work, things like that. So otherwise, a lot of I just do myself, my own editing, shooting, everything.
I have an actual question, but I used to finance a video production company. I can't remember if it was $1,000 a second or a minute.
Yeah, not cheap.
At least the old school way.
Yeah.
And I believe, okay, so I might have missed this, but how many women, children can you have in the program, do you house, and what's their average longevity being in the program, that kind of stuff?
Right now, they can take 4 families, and with the hope of expanding it to 8. They can stay up to 2 years in the program. Some stay 1 and feel like, hey, I'm ready to go. If they've completed the program, when they leave, they also get a Section 8 housing certificate, so they can go out and find housing. They have to find their own. They have their own, daycare. They have to figure out everything after the 2 years. But that's the most that they can stay for the most part. They might, be able to fudge a little bit. If you couldn't get into an apartment for 2 months, they would, make an exception. But basically 2 years. And throughout that time, then every week you have some sort of a programming, whether it's, like I said, nutrition or how to have safe relationships or, all those kinds of things, all brought in from people around the metro area.
So do you have participants that don't have the housing issue as well, or is it only the?
All of them have housing issues.
So it's
They come
just
in.
that the 4 families is your capacity?
Yep, and they all got a 2-bedroom house, and then they're furnished, so they don't have to find furniture. And so there's a constant, there's 3 new families moving in, because 3 of the women aged out, or they were done. They've been there for 2 years. They're done. They have 3 new families coming in, which is interesting because the families moving out have like a 12-year-old, a 10-year-old, a 5-year-old, a 7-year-old. The ones all moving in have infants and toddlers. So now it's a whole different thing. Out go the bunk beds, in come the cribs, all are stored somewhere for these young women. Yeah, and they all have, it's interesting. There's always a story going on where someone's car broke down. What do we do? Some will have figured out how to get on the bus systems and get to their jobs. It's their job to figure that out. Someone will help them, but that's their job to do that. Yeah.
Do you take donations of furniture and furnishings?
Yes, they do. If you call, I can give you the number to call, and yes, they definitely do. Yeah.
Great.
So where does your primary fundraising come from? Do you do annual fundraisers, or how is?
For Beyond New Beginnings? Yeah, November is their big fundraising month, which was, when I started this, I was going to put this film into film festivals, and then fundraising came up, and it's like, and if you apply for to be in film festivals, you can't have your film out there publicly. But they really needed this film for fundraising, so it's like, oh, forget the film festivals. Just take the film. Let's put it out there. It's on YouTube, so that way they can send it any way they wanted. So yeah, it comes from donations from the community. They have just received, I think in the last year, a grant for $30,000 from a group of nonprofits together. So it's just everywhere, anywhere. People just donating things, donating money, donating time. Yeah, all of it, really.
This program is only in Metro, or is it also in?
Oh, anywhere. They'll take money from everywhere. They're glad. They just want it to work. They want this program to work because they can see it does work.
Are there some common threads about where your clientele is coming from?
No, and they're not necessarily. A lot of them are from the Chaska area, but they don't have to be. So if you know of someone that, say, lives in Baudette and they need this, they can apply. And I mean, they go through the applications pretty tightly because they don't want to have police walking, knocking on the door, and you don't want anything like that because they don't want that to be the focus of what they're trying to do. But they can come from anywhere. So anyone that has a need can apply. They only have 4 right now. Hopefully they'll get it to 8 at some point. And then some women only stay a year before they decide that, hey, I think I'm ready. I think I can do this now. I've had this 1 year. I'm doing better at my job, or whatever it might be, or they've figured out something else that they can do. Mm-hmm.
Can you explain how Carver County is involved, or are they involved?
I'm sure they are. I don't know specifically how they're involved. I know that the financial director, if you ever wanted her to come and talk to you, she can give you all the details. She's wonderful, and she would love to tell you about the program and how they've done a lot of the financing and how they've gotten all the different groups that they have involved. Because I know that's probably a concern for a lot of your programs as well.
Along those lines, can you describe in more detail how the Chaska Rotary was involved? My memory, I've only seen the film once, but my memory is they're housed in a building in downtown Chaska?
Yes.
Yeah, can you talk about what that looks like?
It was an old building, and in fact, if you look up the address of this building, which I can't give you right now because I don't want people to know their address, but if you do have the address, it comes up as like Luella's Psychic Readings, because that was the last business that was in there, and it still jumps out. I don't know why it does, but it is an old building, and I know when they first, the city said, we have this building, it's city owned right now. If we think this is a great idea, we can give you this building, and they're just like, oh gosh, 100-year building? Is that what we really want to deal with? I don't know if we want to do that. But the city said, you know what, not only that, but we're going to remodel it all for you, and all you have to do is pay the gas and utilities, and we'll pay no rent and things like that. So that's really how it got going. So the city really jumped in and made this work to start with. So, and I don't know, I know there's a fourplex in the play right now, the new part, but I don't know the details on that at all.
Do these women then have like a case manager to help them with EBT and SNAP and the Section 8 and getting all of that?
I think most of that comes from within the group, like Jill and Molly and things like that. That's all. Most of them don't go out to other places, but I mean, certainly local government is going to be somehow involved, like Section 8 and things like that. They have pretty good, close connections with the people that they need. Yes, they're unbelievable what they do. We're middle of the night, get in a car, go pick up someone's car that broke down. I mean, just unbelievable. These women are remarkable people. Any other questions?
So the videos that you're producing,
Yeah.
sound like they're quite fascinating.
I think they are.
Do you run out of subject material? I mean, should we be sending you?
Oh, I would love that. I would love that. That's how I've gotten a lot of ideas. It's just from other people, like, do you know, have you heard?
And you deal with people outside of Minnesota?
Not usually, but it's not like I wouldn't entertain the idea. Just depends on what the story is, because some stories, like this story and Unraveling the Ribbon story, I mean, I followed those people for like a year and a half. Out of state, that's a little hard to do. But some stories, you're there for a weekend because it's going to start and end, and you're going to tell that story in 2 days, and that would work. Oh yeah, I consider that. That's in the realm. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you very much, and I thank you for inviting me.